Welcome to this exploration of iconic and provocative songs that, for positive or negative reasons, have left indelible marks on society at large. In this not-so-comprehensive list, we embark on a journey through music history, dissecting the impact of controversial tracks relating to cultural norms and expectations, violence in the media, injustice, and more. Madonna's Like a Virgin shook conservative foundations of the 1980s with its daring blend of catchy melodies and suggestive lyrics. In a cultural backdrop steeped in repressive expectations of female modesty, this song emerged as a veritable sledgehammer, challenging conventional norms surrounding female sexuality. Madonna, an unapologetic trailblazer, propelled herself into the limelight by embracing her own sexual liberation, at a time when conversations around sexual health and empowerment were muffled. Her audaciousness was nothing short of revolutionary. It is worth noting that while Like a Virgin faced fervent opposition from conservative groups, it simultaneously garnered adulation from feminists who hailed it as a subversive anthem of female empowerment. In the early 2010s, Lady Gaga's Born This Way served as a much-needed call for uplifting the LGBT community, boldly challenging barbaric paradigms surrounding gender and sexual orientation. Released during an era characterized by an upsurge in gay rights and visibility, the song certainly played a role in shaping the narrative of the movement. Lady Gaga's unwavering stance in support of this community set her apart from her mainstream contemporaries. Need I remind you that this song came out 4 years before same-sex marriage was legalized across the US. A bisexual woman herself, and one of the most successful, boundary-destroying musicians of the 21st century, Gaga is a powerful force to be reckoned with, and this song's impact is massive. Baby, going from controversial good to controversial bad, 2013's Blurred Lines by Robin Thicke, T.I., and Pharrell Williams ignited fierce debates about consent and the objectification of women. In a society that was growing increasingly attuned to issues of gender equality and respect, the song's lyrics and provocative music video featuring scantily clad women elicited sharp criticism for perpetuating traditional gender roles. This controversy draws parallels to earlier songs like Baby It's Cold Outside, which also faced criticism for its portrayal of male quote-unquote persistence in pursuing women, when in reality that persistence is obviously crossing a line into harassment and or assault. This mentality was unfortunately on the set of the music video that day when Robin Thicke allegedly groped model Emily Ratajkowski, with the video's director yelling at the singer and immediately shutting down the shoot. One could also compare this to another song released in 2013, uoeno, where Rick Ross rapped about drugging and then taking home a woman with "put Molly all in her champagne, she ain't even know it. I took her home and I enjoyed that, she ain't even know it." If there's anything good about these songs, it's the fact that the conversation of, hey, that's really creepy and we probably shouldn't talk and act like that, became more prevalent. I know you want it. I know you want it. Amidst the tumultuous backdrop of the Vietnam War and civil unrest, John Lennon's Imagine emerged as an earnest plea for global peace. Lennon's anti-war stance struck a resonant chord with a generation yearning for an end to violence and political turmoil. One of my favorite anecdotes that I've mentioned on the channel before, Lennon discussed how he wanted the song to be, quote, virtually the Communist Manifesto. However, he thought that his message would be wider reaching if he toned it down a bit, planted the seeds in everybody's heads, and let people fill in the blanks themselves. Still though, this song that he thought would be rather innocuous garnered political scrutiny, particularly from those who deemed his pacifist message as excessively radical. There's some kind of joke in here about how the guy that said that he was bigger than Jesus was getting hate for trying to spread peace.
Imagine all the people.
A little bit over 30 years later, Green Day's American Idiot took aim at the Bush administration and American politics during the Iraq War. The song's scathing lyrics matched up with an escalating anti-war sentiment and fueled discussions regarding the role of musicians and artists in general, shaping political discourse. In some ways, this song, its support, backlash, and so on, mirrored elements of earlier compositions like Bob Dylan's Masters of War, but distinguished itself by encapsulating the frustration and disillusionment of a new generation. Green Day's punk rock approach added a rebellious edge that set it apart from the folk-oriented political anthems of yesteryear. As long as music is able to be made in protest, music will be made in protest.
Don't wanna be an American idiot.
Sitting in between these two anti-war anthems, we have Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine, a fiery protest against racism and police brutality, emerging against the backdrop of the Rodney King trial and the LA riots. The song's forceful message became a rallying cry for those demanding justice and the end to racial violence. I put this one amongst the anti-war tracks for good reason, as this fight against the LAPD was seen by many as everyday people trying to fight against a militaristic force. Opposition to this song can harken back to something like Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. While Holiday conveyed a haunting elegance with her message, Killing in the Name opted for a more confrontational approach that sought to jolt society's conscience.
Killing in the name of.
With that being said, don't take anything away from Strange Fruit. In 1939, that track fearlessly illuminated the horrors of racism and lynching in the United States during an era marred by pervasive racial segregation. The song's chilling portrayal of violence and discrimination solidified its status as an anthem for the civil rights movement. Contrasted with Billie Holiday's earlier recordings characterized by traditional jazz standards like All of Me, this transition to a more political and candid style symbolized her evolution as an artist, unafraid to challenge the status quo.
Strange fruit.
While there is a laundry list of controversial tracks from him to choose from, Eminem's Kim delved unflinchingly into graphic violence and domestic abuse, provoking a maelstrom of controversy during a period of heightened awareness surrounding domestic violence issues. The song faced obvious criticism for its explicit content, igniting impassioned dialogues about the portrayal of women in hip-hop. A song like Stan may have dealt with similar topics, but audiences are quicker to see the storytelling and artistic merit in something like that, whereas Kim's frightening sadism turned most people off immediately. In my opinion at least, something like Kim has much more of a place than a Blurred Lines. While I think both should have the right to exist and the right to be criticized, there's a clear difference for me between a brutal story about terrible bad things happening and a subtler, catchy glorification of bad things. For me, I'm cool with finding a grotesque, complicated, twisted beauty in a film like The House That Jack Built, and then going online and talking trash about how Blurred Lines and All About That Bass are bad for society. You might say, but Eminem has glorified violence in massive songs like My Name Is, and I might say something like, it's a satirical take on shock value and the absurdity of celebrity culture and its impact on impressionable minds. Now go away.
Oh, what's the matter, Kim? Am I too loud for you?
NWA's the Police served as an incendiary protest against police brutality and racial profiling, unveiled during an era of rising racial tension and high-profile police incidents, but, to put things into perspective, still 3 years before the beating of Rodney King, the song was met with heavy censorship from radio stations and condemnation from law enforcement agencies, with the FBI even sending a letter to NWA's record label detailing their disapproval. Again, we can go back and forth comparing a protest song like this to a gentler, more radio-friendly counterpart like Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. While the exact mediums and styles of how these artists fought for what they believed in may have changed over time, it's heartbreaking to see how the reasons for why they fought can continue to stay the same. From 1971 to 88 to 92, all the way to modern day stuff like This Is America and The Bigger Picture, the sounds are different, but the story stays the same.
The police coming straight from the underground. A young got it bad 'cause I'm brown.
Last but not least, and while it sounds funny to say this, Rock Around the Clock, a song that sounds like this, sparked a cultural revolution inciting riots and concerns about youth delinquency. This track emerged in an era where rock and roll challenged what society deemed acceptable or not. Its inclusion in the film Blackboard Jungle amplified its impact, symbolizing generational defiance, inspiring youth to question tradition. Departing from Bill Haley's earlier music, it signaled a shift toward that rock and roll mentality, encouraging experimentation in fashion, dance, and language. The rebellious lyrics like "We're gonna rock around the clock tonight" encouraged challenging authority and helped mold this idea of generational conflict and the rise of youth culture. In turn, we can assume the domino effect that all of this had on the future of music and the world at large. First, we were rocking around the clock, then Elvis started moving those hips, then punk rock middle fingers, etc., etc. In conclusion, these songs stand as testaments to music's unparalleled capacity to challenge societal norms, ignite profound contemplation, and provoke controversy. They serve as poignant reminders of the profound influence of music in shaping our beliefs and lives, as well as its unique ability to serve as a mirror, reflecting the intricate tapestry of our ever-evolving society. The enduring legacy of these songs underscores the dynamic interplay between music and society, a relationship perpetually evolving as both entities navigate the ever-shifting boundaries of culture at large. Hey, thank you for watching that video. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media at RenshawHS. You can buy my merch, support me on Patreon or Twitch, and thank you again. I'll see you soon.